You're now tuned in to the Lady Charmaine Live Show, and I'm your host, Lady Charmaine. And as always, I got another great interview for you today. And I'll tell you who it is coming up right after this. My guest today is a Grammy nominated recording artist, singer, songwriter, producer, and radio personality. He has chart topping hits like You Survived, I Trust You, and I Am that has blessed our socks off. And he is here today to talk about his live recording, Dream Again, live from Rock City, and his story of redemption. Help me welcome to the Lady Charmaine Live Show, Mr. James Fortune. Welcome, James, to the show.
Thank you so much, Lady Charmaine, for having me. It's good to be here. I appreciate you.
I want to say congratulations, one, on your brand new album. It is live out of Rock City. It's called Dream Again. So I'm excited. So we're going to be talking about that. But first, I want to know, how did you handle the whole stay-at-home orders, and how did you keep busy?
You know what? It was. We wanted to understand the facts, but not operate in fear. So for me, I obeyed, what they were saying as far as being quarantined. Tried to do my best. Of course, I had to do some travel from Birmingham to Houston because I work at Rock City Church, Birmingham. But my kids still live in Houston, Texas. So I was still kind of having to travel some to get back to them. But I used it as a time to really get focused. I think we were locked in, to be locked in. And for me, that's how this whole album came about, is because it was like, okay, there was no concerts, there was no shows, there was nowhere to go, church was closed. So it gave me a chance to really kind of focus on this release and get that done.
And I love it. I mean, I was just listening to it just a minute ago, even before we were talking. You find the most anointed singers. I'm talking about good, just soul drenching, and the one that they going across the stage. If y'all have not seen it, make sure y'all go to YouTube. You got to see the video. It makes you feel like you in church, and it does. Because my daughter said, "What church you listening to?" I said, "Oh, this James Fortune. Brand new hit song." I am. But it gives you that.
I try to share that. I think with this release, coming out just a few days ago, it's like we can't go to church, but we can still have church. It's a live experience, and I tried to keep it that way in the mixing and mastering of it. I didn't want to lose that authenticity that happened that night when we recorded. I didn't want to overproduce it or make it, too studio sound. I want to keep it like basically like you're at a live concert for an hour and 15 minutes.
And that's what it felt like. You felt the presence of God. He was in the building. They allowed God to use them. And I want to talk to you about you and your career. Now, I read that you went to Cal State Northridge here in California.
Yeah. California State in the Valley for 2 years. When I got out of high school, I didn't want to really, do ministry. I've been doing ministry. My dad was a pastor, so I started at 5 years old. So I just wanted to try something different. And I went to Cal State Northridge to study radio, television, and film. But after 2 years, it was like, man, broke, lonely. God's got a way of getting you back to where he wants you to be. And so that's when I came back to Houston and started the group, James Fortune and Youth for Christ at the time, which eventually became Fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. I remember the group Youth for Christ. Now, are you a singer or are you just a choir director? Because you sure know how to talk on beat.
Yeah. I don't do a whole lot of singing. That's why when you talked about the singers, that God always has given me just some incredible singers. I mean, I've always been blessed because I guess he said, well, you can't do that part. You can write and you can narrate, but I'm gonna give you some singers to help you out in that area. I don't do a lot of singing. I've been doing this for 15 years. So yeah, I'm pretty much, songwriter, producer, do more narrating and singing.
Now, I read that you were hit by a drunk driver. You have such a powerful testimony.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, well, just sitting at a red light. It was crazy. I was sitting at a red light, and a lady had been obviously drinking, and she didn't stop at the red light and smashed into the back of the car. And I didn't know what it was at the time. It was like my neck and everything just kind of locked up. And by the time the ambulance got there, she was still in the car, just completely drunk, just completely passed out. And thanks be to God, it could have been so much worse. I didn't sustain any horrible injuries. They just checked me out and had to do a little therapy. But other than that, I was truly, truly blessed to come out of that without any serious injuries.
Because not many people have that testimony to be able to come out after being hit by a drunk driver. So by the grace of God that you are still here. And your
Absolutely.
life is literally a testimony because you have gone through some things publicly as an
Yeah.
artist, and
Yeah.
you've come out of them, and now we're able to see you on the other side. Many people have heard, of course, your very public divorce with your wife and domestic
Yeah.
violence and your son. But this is one of my questions. Going through all of that, did you think that was the end of your career?
Initially, I didn't even think about career wise. It was just surviving. Period. Just with the suicidal thought, I wasn't even really on the career stuff at first. It was more so, like for the mental place that I was in, dealing with depression, dealing with suicidal thoughts. I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to just live through that situation that I was going through. And once I went through therapy, cause I wasn't thinking about music at all. But once I finished and went through therapy and did a few years of that, and kind of understood my weaknesses and was able to work on those areas of my life. God kind of how my music has always been. I had to write about it. Of course, I journaled along the way, but that became songs. Those journal entries became songs like "I Forgive Me" and "Dear Future Me" and things like that. So in that dark, deep place, I was focused more on just trying to survive and live than I cared about a career. I had a great career already, in my opinion.
What were some of the nuggets that you learned from counseling?
Oh, wow. I mean, so many. First of all, I learned about the lesson of being able to forgive yourself. That was so critical. I had never really heard that before. But my therapist had said, "James, have you forgiven yourself?" One day we were talking, and I was like, "Well, I'm not really worried about forgiving myself. I'm just more so, worried about the people that I've affected forgiving me." And she was like, "No, you can't control other people's forgiving you. So you can only control forgiving yourself. And if you don't forgive yourself, you'll continue to have resentment and hatred and animosity toward yourself. And the cycle will just continue because even though you're angry and you're upset at yourself, that still produces and it projects out on other people." So I learned that in life, you can make a mistake, but it doesn't mean that your life is a mistake. And you got to be able to, like God does, He forgives us, but we have to be able to really forgive ourselves to begin the healing process.
Right. So, what was it like for you knowing that everyone knew who you were, especially in Christendom and in church, and being in Houston, knowing your stories on TV? What was that like for you? Did you feel like you were being judged without anybody saying anything to you?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that. But I didn't really. I understood it. I wasn't in one of those modes at time where like, church people this, church people that. The thing that I had to work on is work on me, not worried about what blogs are saying about what people were saying. I had to really do the hard work, which was dealing with myself. That was the hardest person to look at in the mirror was myself. I kind of disconnected, for a while from the public scene and stuff like that. So a lot of that stuff was probably hidden from me. I spent more time focused on me than I did about what people were saying about me.
That's good. Now God has restored you. You're now remarried. You have a
Yeah,
toddler. And
yeah,
you're
yeah,
now living in a new city. You're now in Birmingham, Alabama. So let
yeah.
me ask you a question the second time around. Who is James Fortune now in the second marriage than who he was in the first marriage?
Yeah, I think one of the things my therapist said when I went to her, and this will help explain it. I said, I just want to be a better person. And she said, "You're already a better person. You just got to make better decisions." And I think now I'm more aware of who I am, where my struggles were, because domestic violence is not really so much about anger as it is power and control. It's really a controlling issue that you have where you'll manipulate, you'll use psychological, emotional, any type of tactic to control the other person. And in the 16 forms of abuse that I studied, there was really only one that was physical. And that's usually the last one when everything else doesn't work, when the yelling doesn't work, when the psychological abuse, the mental abuse, then eventually you say, well, I have to control you another way. And that's how it gets to the physical. So I think for me, it's more understanding of what real love really looks like, what abuse looks like, what a real marriage is supposed to look like. Not about, this thwarted Bible, church thing, women submit, to women, thinking that that means obey or that the men is to have rule over the woman, but just understanding so much more about me. I got married like 21. I didn't really know much about it then, other than what I had seen. My dad was divorced. My parents got divorced when I was 7, so I didn't know a lot. I just think more experience and more self-awareness has really helped me be the man that I am today. Totally different.
Wow. I mean, that's a blessing that you were able to learn that. And I'm sure your testimony has helped a lot of people. Because like you said, would you say the 16 forms of abuse?
Yeah, there's 16 forms of abuse I studied. And one of the things that when I started talking, I was really trying to help men, because I was like, it's like it's like my eyes were open to this incredible new thing. And I wanted to share with as many men as possible to help them. But what surprised me was there were so many women who were thanking me, because they were just saying, how their abuser never took responsibility and always made them feel like it was their fault or something that they did or something that they didn't do right. But me sharing my testimony helped them understand that abuse it's not a mistake, it's a decision. And so there's nothing that, it's not anyone's fault but the person who's perpetrating that type of abuse. And so it's been a blessing to share. I get more and more free every time I talk about it. And so it's what the enemy meant for evil, God has a way of making that thing work out for my good. I'm grateful for it.
And that is so powerful. On my radio show yesterday, I did a hot topic, and it was dealing with toxic relationships. And the women that were calling in talking about things that they didn't realize. We were talking about the forms of control, and they were talking about that as well. But you don't realize it when you're in it. Sometimes you feel like, oh, they love me. In the beginning, you think it's kind of cute, and then it goes into something that's bigger. And thank you so much for sharing that. But I want to talk about the reason why you're here. We're going to talk about the brand new album. Dream Again, live from my church and my jam. I am. Well, we should talk about that. All anointed James. I am so serious. I'm telling y'all need to go pick up this project. It is anointed. It takes you to church. I mean, listen, I was telling my daughter, I said, now this is soul music. This is soul. That's what I was telling her. I was getting one. This is soul music. I mean, it's like an old school church singing, you know what I mean? I know we have a lot of praise teams now, but that took me back to that good old just church, that good gully washing.
Yeah, right. It's a lot of it's a lot of CCM now, and I love CCM. I love all types of
me too.
Forms of gospel music, but I think a lot of people, you just get that gospel feel. That's my roots. Of course, I'm a church boy. I'm a pastor's son. My grandfather was also a pastor. So, we just tried to keep and maintain that integrity of what happened that night. We didn't, like I said earlier, we didn't try to change it up or put all these extra sounds, make it trap gospel or make it CCM. We say, listen, whatever God did on that night, let's just give that to the people. And so far, it's been really, really, the response has been overwhelming.
So when you say dream again, what do you mean by that?
The Bible says that even after Joseph was ridiculed for his dream, he dreamed again. And a lot of times we have these dreams, we have these aspirations. And I think now, dealing with a pandemic, does the promise still stand even in the midst of a pandemic? I saw a meme that was kind of funny to me. It said the biggest waste of money going into this year was a 2020 planner. Our plans have totally been changed. What we thought was gonna happen. But I think you can still dream. I think you can still have goals. You can still, no matter if you've made mistakes, no matter if you've had setbacks, been through divorces, lost jobs, laid off, whatever it's been, that God still has a dream on the inside of you that can still come to fruition. The Bible says that where there is no vision, where there's no vision, the people perish for lack of knowledge. Where there's no vision, people perish. That if you're not going after anything, if you don't have any goals, any plans, then your life is going to be, you're just going to be existing and not really accomplishing anything.
Right. That is so true. Well, James, I know you got to go, but I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to remind everyone to pick up Dream Again, live from Rock Church. It is available right now, streaming on all platforms. Go pick it up, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to get your music. That's all I'm saying. Well, make sure y'all go and pick it up. James, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And I got to have you back because there's some things I want to talk to you about that you hit so on the nose that I really want to go deeper to be able to help people. So I want to say thank you so much.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you for having me, Lady Charmaine, and continue to do what you're doing. You're a blessing, and we need you. Of course, our industry, we need all the support, all the love that we can get. So thank you, and I'm praying that God will continue to enlarge your territory.
Thank you so much. And again, don't forget to pick up Dream Again live from Rock Church with Mr. James Fortune.
Yeah.